Hello, lovely people. This is Catherine here, and I've just got off a summit. I've been interviewed on a joint ventures tele summit, and because of that, it just happens that I've got my hair done and I've put my makeup on, and I feel fit to be seen by the world. And I don't know about you, but this is the biggest thing that stops me from doing videos more regularly. It's because I work from home. I'm here alone and I don't get myself presentable. And so I thought, okay, I know I'm presentable. Let me take this opportunity to create a quick video to send out. So I'd been thinking for the last few days about doing a video. I'd had one at the top of my mind, and as you all know, it can't have escaped your notice, but we're all going Anne Wilson crazy at the moment. I'm an enormous fan of hers. And I know many of my business friends are, so we're hearing a lot about her. And I thought, oh, what I'll do is I will record a video to talk about my money story, my personal money story. And as I started out thinking about and planning out what I would include in that, what felt to me more relevant or what felt like the right thing to do initially was to talk about my pricing story. Because my money story throughout my life and my pricing story, as you can imagine, are they're intertwined, that they're connected. And I thought, well, I could tell you my money story. I could tell you about my upbringing and what my parents were like with money and how this impacted me and how naive I was about money, so that even when I worked in the city and actually earned really good, was paid really well, I still didn't know the sensible things to do with money that would have given me financial freedom by now, had I known the things that I now know. And there's a whole story really there around my own money journey and even where I am now. But as I come into the business years, the money journey becomes tied up with the pricing. And so I thought, do you know what I will do? I'm going to talk about my pricing journey. And if you would like to hear my money journey, let me know, and I will do another one to talk about my money journey. But I think the pricing journey is so important because I think it's so easy sometimes to look at people who are a little bit further along the path than you are in business, or who are a little bit more confident or a bit more established, and look at what they charge and think, well, that's okay for them, but I could never do that. And the way I see it is not like that there are a group of people who for some reason are blessed with some magical quality that means that they can charge a lot of money, and there's this other group of people who are somehow defined as being worth less, who will never be able to charge very much. It's not like that at all. It's not like some people are worth less and some people are worth more, but there's a journey. There's a money journey we take in business, and it goes alongside a journey that we take in terms of improving and growing in our skills and our ability to deliver and our ability to be absolutely brilliant at what we do. But there's also a journey of confidence and self-belief and personal growth, and our pricing journey goes hand in hand with that, parallel with that. And so I thought that for any of you who either struggle with your pricing or who despair of ever being able to charge what you would really like to charge, I thought I'm going to share with you the story of my pricing and how I got started, where I got started. So to give context, I'm going to start with where I'm at right now. So in terms of pricing for me in my business at the moment, there's a number of ways of working with me. So I have my online program, the Get More Clients Saying Yes course, which is £995, although I do discount that during launches and special offer periods, but that's the full price. I run a business mentoring group, a 12-month program, and the fee for that is between £5,000 and £7,000 plus VAT, depending on the payment plan that the person chooses. And then there are options to work with me one-to-one, which range from a VIP day with me for £3,000 all the way up to my highest one-to-one coaching package, which is £10,000. And so when you look at my hourly rate in terms of my one-to-one work, my hourly rate breaks down to being around about £500, sometimes less depending on the package. But I would quote my hourly rate as being £500 plus VAT, although it's a fairly academic thing because I don't sell my time by the hour. You won't be surprised about that. I teach you not to sell your time by the hour either. But if I did sell my time by the hour, it would be priced at £500 plus VAT. So there was a time when these figures, if you could go back in time and tell the me of 6 years ago that I would be charging £5,000 for an hour of my time, I would have been shaking in my shoes, and I really think I would have struggled to really have any concept that would ever be true for me. And so let me take you back to the beginning, because I think, like I said, what I really want to communicate here is that your pricing is a journey, and that if I'm charging more than you, I may be charging a lot less than you. But if you're somebody for whom I'm charging more than you charge, I'm only further along the journey. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. So I have had my corporate career, very well paid, above 6 figures. I was a very successful salesperson in the corporate world. But my first journey into sort of charging money for what I do would really have started when I started out getting my first paying coaching clients. And I had done my coaching training and my NLP practitioner training, so I had my qualifications to be a coach, but I wasn't very confident and I hadn't got going in terms of charging anything. I was just seeing practice clients. And I joined a new coaching school because I wanted to get a qualification that I felt more confident in. And one of the things that I asked we were doing practice coaching, and one of the things that I was being coached around was the fact that I wanted to start charging for my coaching. And so at the end of the coaching session, it was decided that between now and the next time we met, which was a month later, I would advertise my coaching services at £25 an hour. Now, I went home and I had 4 weeks to do this before we met again for the next module. And the days went by and the weeks went by and I was resisting. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I was going to go on to Gumtree. I don't even know if people still use Gumtree, but back in the day when I was starting as a coach, it was where we went to advertise for we'd advertise low-cost coaching. And so, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. And in the end, the weeks were coming around, and I remember really clearly, I sat myself down on my bed, and I asked myself, what's going on here, Catherine? Why can't you advertise at £25 an hour? And there was just this feeling in me, it just was so wrong. I just wasn't ready for it. And I asked myself, what would it take for you to go and place that advert? And you know what it was when I really tapped in? It was £10 a session. And I went over to Gumtree and I posted my first ever advert for my paying coaching services. And it was £60 for a series of 6 sessions. They had to buy a package, but it was £60 for a series of 6 sessions. And that was the place that I was comfortable to start with my pricing. Okay, so if you're somewhere above that and you're struggling, you're in really good company, because we all have to start somewhere. And as soon as I got that first client paying me £60, which didn't take long at all, and remember, I'm very good at the sales conversation bit, so once I had them in conversation, so I was fine at the sales conversation, but I had stuff around money and pricing. So, they are separate. You can be good at sales, but still get wobbly about your own pricing. And so that's why it's really important to work on both. So as soon as I had that first client, I went onto Gumtree and I changed the advert and I increased it to £15 a session. And I went on like that. I increased it by £5 per session for each new client that I had, until I hit my limit of about 35. I can't remember exactly. It was either 35 or £40 an hour. And I sort of hit my ceiling of my comfort zone where I wasn't comfortable charging anymore. And so I continued at that level for a while. Meanwhile, feeling frustrated that I wasn't making more money in my business. Because you can imagine at £40 a session, at 6 sessions, what's that, about £240 per client. So I was frustrated. The clients weren't necessarily the problem, but there was this frustration around, not being able to create the income that I wanted, and I still hadn't really connected with the fact that I could be worth more and I could charge more. So the next evolution for me was actually not to put my prices up. It was when I connected in. So back then I was more of a generic life coach. I was helping women who were stuck and unfulfilled in areas of their life to make change and transformation and become happier. That was what I was doing then. In late November, in 2011, November, was when I finally realised that this business that I do now, Selling from the Heart, was the thing that I'm really, really meant to do. And this came about because a very good friend of mine who runs a coaching school, in fact, he runs the coaching school that I was talking about, where I was being coached around my pricing. I made a proposal to him that he allow me to run a workshop for his coaches, and we called it Sales Success for Coaches. And he sent some emails out to his coaching community and filled the workshop for me with 13 people. And I charged £47 per person. And after the cost of the venue, me and Nick, that was his name, we split the profits because he'd promoted me to his community. I had delivered the training. I wasn't familiar with these terms then, but this was my first joint venture. So you can imagine we had 13 people. We had to pay for a venue. We split it 50-50. Not looking like the most profitable business on the planet just yet. And I continued like that. We did another sort of joint workshop. I started doing joint workshops with other people, and I started to get frustrated again because, and clearly looking back, I just wasn't charging right, didn't have the right structures in place to take those clients on to the next step. And I remember around that time I was working with a new business mentor, Joanna, and she said, you need to take that one-day workshop and turn it into an online program. And so I did. Not straight away. It took me about 6 months to get comfortable with the idea of doing something quite so public and online and all that technology and stuff. I really didn't think it was for me at all. It turned out to be perfect for me. And I remember working on this. I worked on this program, blood, sweat and tears, and planning it. And I remember when I came to the point where I was going to go out and give a talk and make an offer, and I had to decide the pricing. And I think by now I'd really connected into the value that this program could bring. Like I really could feel it, and a coach who's never had a paying client before could actually go out and sell their first coaching package for £600 or £1,000 as a result of doing this. And I just felt like the pricing came from within me. It wasn't like the price police came along and told me what I was allowed to charge. It was a very internal feeling. And I decided that course was worth £695. And, compare that to the fact that I was charging £47 for the workshop. But then I also did a bit of a reality check on what's going to be a really easy thing for somebody to say yes to. For people who haven't worked with me before, this course is actually really unproven. I haven't run it as an online course before. What's going to be something that somebody can say yes to easily when I'm giving a talk and making an offer? And I decided on three. I think I priced it at £495, and I discounted it to £395. And so the first 20 people who joined my online program paid £295, and no VAT back in those days, for the program that is now £995. And so there's been this journey of evolution, and so that course went up from £495 to £595 and then to £995 as I got clearer and clearer on the value and the quality and just how much I was giving and how much was included in my course compared to other courses that were out there. And so that was my journey around the online program. By the end of 2012, I had this online program, 20 people had been through it, and again I started to get frustrated. It was like, how can I get this? At that time, I didn't have a big vision about I think I had a vision about being able to reach a lot of people, but I'm not sure that I really believed it was possible for me. And so I started back with a confusion about pricing. And I remember having a call with a potential business mentor, you know, when you have the discovery call, and she said, you should be doing one-to-one work, you know. And I wasn't doing any one-to-one sort of sales coaching or business coaching at that point. And I remember just feeling this huge resistance. No, you know, I don't want to do one-to-one work. But funnily enough, the resistance was coming from the fact that in my mind, one-to-one work meant working for about £50 to £60 an hour. And I didn't want to do that. And I struggled with this, and she said, well, why don't you do a VIP day? And I couldn't really see it. You know, she said, oh, you could charge £1,000, £1,500 if you did it for a day. And my pricing around my personal time was still stuck at this £50, £60 an hour level. And then what I did was I did a couple of VIP days for free. So I reached out to, there was a lady in a mentoring program with me. There was a friend of mine who had done the online program, and I offered them both a VIP day. And for me, that was the turning point again. I walked away from those days really crystal clear about the value and the difference that my advice had made to them in a way that I hadn't really been able to get in touch with in advance just by thinking about it. And I came away from those 2 VIP days, put a page on my website, VIP days, £1,000. Still, no VAT back in those days. And of course that's evolved, and now my VIP days are £3,000 plus VAT, because I'm more and more in touch with the value of what I can give somebody, but also the value of my own time. You know, it's not always just about me justifying whether I'm worth £3,000 a day or not. You know, there's no real clear measure for this type of thing. But I do know what my time is worth, and I know what I can achieve when I'm in my office, when I'm doing sort of high value activities. I do a lot of client work, so that takes up a lot of my time. And so the value of my time to actually go out and sit down and spend a day with a client has that level of value. So that they're combined for me. There's the value of my time and what I can be doing with that time, but there's also the value. And I remember again, it was during a VIP day where I charged the client, I think I charged her £2,000. And I sat there looking at what I was teaching her and the plan she was walking away with, and I could just see her walk out that door and build a 6-figure business straight away off the advice I was giving her that day. And again, that was when it clicked for me. I'm too cheap. And, you know, I'm just not charging enough. It felt wrong. There was like a knot. So the same knot in my stomach that said that I was charging too little, the same knot in my stomach that said I was charging too much. You know, when I wanted to charge £25 an hour and it was too much for me, I had a knot in my stomach. But when I charged £2,000 and I knew it was too little, I had a knot in my stomach. So your body will tell you, you know, you don't have to wait for someone to tell you what to charge. You can trust your feelings and trust this. And so it's gone on. And, you know, my first mentoring program, it was a 6-month program. I charged £2,500. I was so worried about making sure I gave value. I was so not sure whether I'd really be good enough at it that I threw in the kitchen sink. There were one-to-one calls with me, group calls, live events, extra live workshops. There was so much in it that I remember a friend of mine looking at what I planned to offer beforehand and said that she was really worried about me burning out doing it. But it was the only way I could get started was to offer the price that I felt comfortable with and throw in far too much stuff. And she was absolutely right. By the end of that year, I was a frazzle. I was an absolute burnt out frazzle. But I don't regret it because I learnt my value. And so that program has evolved. And now there's no longer any one-to-one included. It's a group program. It's between 5,000 and 7,000, depending on the payment plan the person selects. And although, you know, there's a lot of calls and time and trainings within that, there isn't any one-to-one. And, you know, I still have a tendency to want to give. I think over delivery is one of the things that I struggle with within my business. And so although the pricing has increased, I still feel it's very important to me to feel that I'm giving massive value within that. So if somebody is paying me £5,000 to work with them for a year, I want to be absolutely sure that I'm giving them value in return for that. But that's my pricing journey. And I wanted to share that with you, like how you can go, how someone like me and someone like you, because I'm the same, I'm just further along the journey, can go from feeling a bit sick at the idea of charging £25 an hour to being absolutely confident and congruent at saying, I'm sorry, but the hourly rate is £500 and actually I don't work on an hourly rate, so here are the options, here are my programs and packages. So I want to wish you well on your journey, and please don't feel you have to rush it either. You have to feel it in your body, like I said, and it will evolve. And so nobody could have come along and told me you should be charging £3,000 for your VIP days. I probably wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done anything. I had to wait until the moment I felt it in my body. Ouch, this is too cheap. This is wrong, So I hope some of you found that useful. And let me know if you want my money story, because if you'd like my money story as well, I would, I'd love to share that with you too. I'm getting dressed up and putting some makeup on for an interview tomorrow as well, so I'd love to do that for you then. Send a reply and let me know, and lots of love to all of you. Bye-bye.